Okay, we're going to do the process to do a mouth. So the next 3 videos we're going to see the 3 major features of a face: nose, eyes and mouth. We're going to see the process of how to do each for a mask. So for a mouth, well, to begin with, obviously we're doing a bigger piece with a mask with a forehead, cheeks, eyes, nose, chin, etc. We're just going to concentrate in this video on the actual mouth. We've saturated the leather. It's preferably in a ideal state of the drying sequence. In other words, it's still saturated, it's still humid. As you can see, this is flexible, but it keeps the shape. It doesn't deform. It's not soaking wet. It's just in a ideal point of the saturation. So what we do is I use bone tools quite a lot for these to stretch these kind of pieces, to stretch the leather. It's the shape of the bone is ideal, as it's a bit rounded, so you can push upwards easily. So I'm just going to make a long volume. So I'm going to make sure the actual leathers move around. Well, as I say, you'll have a bigger piece, so the piece itself will probably keep the leather in place. But if not, as I'm doing here, I'd secure the leather, make sure it doesn't move, and then stretch it from underneath. I'm literally stretching it, I'm not just scraping it. So I'm going to get a kind of longish volume, like that. And now in the middle of that, I'm going to use a bone tool. I'm going to mark the actual opening of the mouth, and do a closed mouth in this case. Just mark it, and then I'm going to making like tweezers with my fingers behind. I'm going to push in there and hold on to the piece. So I do that all the way along. So if we've got maybe a stiffer leather than this, or we just want to really close it well, so it's well secure and firm, we can use a pair of pliers, flat pliers. I don't have any rivets on the side, just flat. And from behind we can squeeze the leather a bit. This will get it into shape, and also get rid of, as we've squeezed it, we get rid of some of the surplus water that could be still inside. So I'm gonna do that along the center. So there we've got the opening of the mouth clearly marked. So a mouth is actually quite strange. It's quite difficult. If we compare the mouth, nose, and eyes, the mouth is probably the most difficult one to get right, because it's not actually we don't actually have 2 kind of sausages here. The actual mouth goes up and then abruptly goes inwards. So there's not a rounded shape. The mouth has quite a defined, so you can't really, or you can mark it minimally, but the upper part of the mouth is actually the edge where it begins to go inwards, doesn't go outwards. So if that's the top of the mouth, we wouldn't start stretching there. That actually goes in. Where we'd start stretching is on the top, because, as I say, that goes inwards now, it doesn't go outwards. So what we'd do is we'd start stretching, as I say, just the top part, just there where the upper lip begins, so to speak. So it would stretch up here, around there. So that if you get a side view, you'd see that the outer part, the part that sticks out most, is the top of the lip, not this part. That goes inwards. That would be the highest point around here. So as I say, we start stretching this top part here, around here. And if we want to line it out a bit more, we'd actually do it from this side. So that side, we'd put the tool. We could use obviously we could use a modeling tool to do this. Although I'm quite a fan of these bone tools. So we'd be pushing it in this way. So that the upper lip kind of goes backwards, like that. And as I say, we'd keep on stretching here. This leather is a bit wet still, so it's not going to really stay in place, but just so you can get an idea. So I'm stretching it out on the top part. I'm going to continue working, obviously, the crease here of the mouth. I'm going to do a like a bird shape. It goes down in the middle a bit. So we'll go down here. Here we could work that point in a bit. Like that. So the shape would be kind of like a bird. In, up, down and up. And then we could do this characteristical part in the middle of the, just below, between the nose. The nose would be up here, obviously. Up there. So here we could flatten out sides a bit. Make that characteristical little part of, which I don't know if it has a name, that we have between nose and, obviously work at that more, get it right, flattening off the sides a bit. Now we'd start on the bottom lip, which we're also going to stretch out. So we start getting bottom shape. Bottom shape is similar to the top shape, actually. Though it goes further down here. And you can give it a kind of extra part. So we got around and then up a bit. So here we'd go down a bit. And then around like that. Presses them. Then the sides of the mouth would press in more, like that. Do the same on the other side. And here we'd flatten these off a bit inwards like this. Flatten this out a bit. And as you see, we're starting to get the shape of a mouth. We'll work this in further like that, flatten these off. As I say, this leather's quite wet, so it's not really doing exactly what it would do if it was dry. Stretching out the top of the lip. And as you see on the side view, that's the highest point, and then that would go back. Then obviously we might be doing around from the nose, the wrinkle that goes down there. From here, just around the side of the mouth, and then obviously we have a big volume here on top of this part, which would be the nose. But there we're starting to get the shape of a mouth. So basically, would you continue working at that, flattening this out, flattening that, making sure the creases together, and smoothing off this part, and stretching out the top part, and putting in the sides, making sure. Obviously, we could change that. It could be longer. We can make a kind of longer crease there. But basically, that's how we'd make a closed mouth, at least. If we're doing an open mouth, well, as we've seen in previous videos, well, we'd use a PVC tube to hit in. In this case, instead of hitting out like it's what we're doing with the nose, we'd hit inwards and work it pretty in a similar way. Really, this would go inwards. If you can see it side views, it goes inwards, opening it up, making sure these are clear, and then we could mark a tongue in the middle, stretching that out. But first we want to get this deep volume in there, so then we can start working around. In this case, I've cut it out to get it even deeper, so we've got the entrance here, so to speak, and we'd start marking at the gum and the teeth, etc. First, we have to get, as I say, that deep volume. And if we're going to do well, this is a closed mouth that's finished. Kind of slightly pouting look, slightly open in the middle. So as you see, we've flattened this part out, flatten this other side out, and then it goes in. It's very thin mouth, this. Obviously mouths, like any other feature on a face, can vary quite a lot. So this is a very thin lipped mouth. We've done work to this a bit. We've gone in there. It's kind of a typical mask, this, because there's a lot of space between these two, but I wanted that effect. A bit of kind of slightly alien effect. And the bottom one, the bottom mouth, as you see, we've worked it. We've got a bigger volume underneath here. We've flattened these parts out, as you see. And we've flattened the top part a bit. And then we've marked the entrance. So this way we could cut this piece out, really, if we wanted a deeper effect. But you see there's a very clear line here around. That's where there's not a line, there's an edge more than a line. We wouldn't actually mark that. That's just an edge that goes inwards. And here it's also, there's a flatter part here and it goes underneath. So that gives it the mouth effect. And another possibility is do another gesture. You see they're always the same. The lip has a line, the volume here, and then it goes inwards. So, well, this is kind of free style where the lower lip isn't really marked much. And it's an extremely thin lipped piece here. But we've opened the mouth slightly, we marked the teeth, slightly the bottom teeth too. So that would be the basic process to do a mouth.